Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between. Jason, my brother, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Right on, right on. How was your week? Back to work.
Yeah, the first week back's always the toughest, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I was dragging, but we made it. I got
Yeah.
one more. I work tomorrow, but we're good.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I called it on the Aerosmith tour. It's totally canceled.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I don't think he'll be able to come back.
Oh boy.
Not at the level he was playing. He's 75 years old. He doesn't have anything to prove.
Right.
He literally fractured his larynx.
Oh boy, man. That's got to sting a little bit.
That's got to suck big time. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you're 39 shows away from, or 38 shows away from retiring.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we got something good tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring on Metalhead Fred Bonanno to tell us about it.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows Metalhead Fred. And he writes for metaltemple.com, does album reviews over there, and he's killing it, booking some really cool people.
He's a bad Fred.
What's up, my friends?
What's going on, brother?
Good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
Speaking of the Aerosmith concert, I got a good friend of mine in California, and she's had tickets for the New Year's Eve show in Boston.
Wow.
And she just found out that they canceled a third time. They've canceled on her. She is ready to fucking kill Steven Tyler.
In Boston, too. That would have been the show, right?
Yeah. I mean, Steven Tyler doesn't know anybody a damn thing, but
right.
I think he still owes me about $12. I lent him a few years ago, but I'm going to let that slide.
Right.
He's good for it. He's good
with interest, it might be a little more than that, but
yeah, go grab it from Mama Kin.
Right.
So, Fred, introduce our guest, would you?
I sure will. Tonight, we are privileged to have Jason Ward, the bass player for one of the most influential thrash and heavy metal bands, Flotsam and Jetsam, for 22 years, from 1991 to 2013. He played on 8 of their studio albums. He also toured with Rob Halford on his solo career back in 2003. We'll get into that with him. I met Jason when he was playing with a friend of mine's local band here in Chicago called Rock Hard Chicago, with a couple of mutual friends, Ron Soleil and Kevin Lindsay. And they both better be fucking watching tonight. And I had the privilege of being able to sing a couple of songs with the band on stage, a decision I know that they regret. I know they regret that decision.
Come true, though.
I was. And I was there at Jason's last gig before he took his talents to Florida, where he joins us from today to talk on CreatiVity Talkin about his incredibly interesting musical career then and now. One of the nicest and one of the funniest people I know. So Vince, open up the green room door and let's welcome Jason Ward to CreatiVity Talkin.
Jason, what's happening, sir?
What's up,
hey
man?
guys, how are you, man? How are you, Fred? That's the best intro I think I've ever gotten in my life, honestly.
Yeah, I wore the Chicago flag for you, brother.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And by the way, I'm a little depressed about these Bears. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna have to go to therapy. I think.
Can't hear Jason.
Last week my wife was sure that I was gonna have cardiac arrest last.
Oh, really?
Screaming at the
Taylor
TV.
Swift. I immediately went into jerk off mode. She's gonna kill me for that one, by the way. Anyway,
yes.
Hey guys, great being here. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been a while since anybody's shown any interest in my Where Are They Now Files career.
Well, so, that's crazy to hear. We're happy to have you. We appreciate you coming.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah. Flotsam and Jetsam. I mean, that's a huge.
Those guys are still out there, man. They're still out there pounding the turf. They're out in Europe, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And they kind of gone back to some of their roots, doing a lot of the super thrashy type kind of stuff. And it's a little different from, I think, the era that I was there. I tried to kind of bring a little more of more groovy type kind of stuff when I was playing with them. But they're still pounding, man. Eric A.K.'s and like a freak of nature, still sings like maniac.
Right.
So
and I heard they had to cancel their U.S. tour.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
you
it's
know,
so
during the second half of my career with them, we were a lot stronger in Europe and, you know, and honestly Japan than we were here in the States. You know, I think it's tough here in the States. You know, there's a lot of competition and just a lot of apathy, so to speak, you know, towards the whole concert scene, you know, out there.
Right. Yeah, it always seems like Japan, especially, they love American bands, you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we had a chance to go out there and play with Overkill.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Right on. What a great band.
And Death Angel, and it was like sort of a mini thrash of the Titans out there.
Oh, yeah.
And we did 2 shows in Osaka and 1 in Tokyo, and every one of them were sold out, packed, like 10,000 people. And yeah, it was crazy. I had my own entourage. Are you kidding? There was there was people following me from the airport. I'm like, not even kidding you guys. I mean, I was like blown away by that.
Did they give you like a Jason Ward doll? They made like a, you know,
well, you know, we had an interpreter and everything, which was really cool, you know, and but I made some friends with this guy named Tomasito and his sister, who was hot. And of course, you know, I couldn't communicate with her or anything, but
even better.
But they were kind of part of my entourage, and so I started calling him Tommy. I'm like, "Hey, Tommy, come on, let's go. We're gonna go get some drinks," you know. And it was a lot of fun, man. But Japanese rock, man, I'm telling you, that was an experience of a lifetime being out there for sure.
I bet. What a bill too, man. Overkill, Death Angel, and you guys. Wow.
Well, you know what's funny about it too is we were out there kind of by accident because I think it was going to be Testament or somebody like that was going to be the other band, and somebody over there broke their arm or something like that and couldn't be there. So that's how we got on the course.
Whatever.
Like, those Flotsam guys doing? I'm sure they're doing nothing, you know. So we got out there, and so we just went out there with no gear or anything like that. And Overkill had all this stuff, you know. They got their Overkill banners and just, you know, all this. And I was looking at them like, we're on rental gear, you know, from Japan. So I'm like, God, I've got no banners and nothing out here. You know, it was so last minute getting out there.
Right.
So last minute, I grabbed my my interpreter girl, and I'm like, hey, can you?
I can't hear Jason.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we got you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't hear Jason for some reason. Jason Ward.
That's right. You'll hear it later on in the mix. It's going to be a lot better.
That's not good.
They'll mix in like a deeper voice or something, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did this kind of cool thing because, you know, like they said, they had all these, you know, like Overkill had all their banners and everything. So so I grabbed this black sheet off of like, you know, some backstage area, right? And I grabbed some fluorescent stage tape. And I grabbed the interpreter girl and I said, hey, do me a favor. I said, write down Flotsam and Jetsam in Japanese.
Okay.
You know, with Japanese letters. So she did it for us. And I had my crew guys basically create a Flotsam and Jetsam in Japanese logo on there. And I'm like, dude, do me a favor. Just hang this up there. Don't drop it until we're about, you know, 2 songs in. And I'm not shitting you, man. We dropped that banner. They could read it. And the crowd, just the swell from the crowd was insane. It like went bonkers. You know
what I mean? Awesome.
So, yeah, that's what you call the old toothpick and paperclip way of, you know, doing Overkill.
You know, we've been covering some Japanese bands.
Yeah.
And the fans are amazing.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it's a totally different atmosphere out there. When we were playing, you know how like at an American show, people are getting bombed and hanging out in between bands. Right. Maybe they catch 20% of the show, or if it's, you know, the headliner, they might go out and watch most of the headliner, right?
Yeah.
Not in Japan, man. You walk around the outside of that place, people are in there. They are watching the bands from the minute they go on till the minute the show is over. Right. I mean, they're really dedicated and into it, and really big lovers of music completely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's one thing that surprised me coming back. Yeah, Fred, getting the echo.
Again?
Yeah, coming back into the music scene. It's like when I left, everyone was wasted.
Yeah.
And now everyone's sober.
Yeah.
Which is good for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Fred, I'm still getting the echo from you, buddy.
I don't know what to do. I'm trying everything. Just I might have to bow out here then.
Hold on a sec. So
still got the
1, 2.
Yeah. I think that's better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You got echo?
1, 2. A little bit, but that's doable.
I hear you guys. I couldn't hear Jason earlier. Jason Ward. Jason? Yeah, see, I can hear Jason.
Yeah, so the Japanese fans are just amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they definitely are, man. You know, Loudness was back in the day for me. And
what a great band.
Oh,
I still love
like
them.
5 times. Yeah. Still playing.
Yeah. I know. Great band.
Akira Takasaki, man, what a player, you know?
Yeah. For
absolutely.
Sure.
So yeah, we were talking before the show. So Jason knows Pat Catalano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he knows Pat.
Oh, right.
So, we're talking about, bands back in the day. We used to have this place called the Thirsty Whale, which was a legendary club.
Yeah.
That got flooded out. But everyone, like, if you were anybody, you came through. I saw LA Guns there, Dangerous Toys.
I think
Manowar. Yeah, so he opened up the show, and Manowar won the. I was there for the Guinness Book of World Records show.
Loudest show.
Yeah, and so he opened. Is in the band that opened for him.
Yep.
Nice. Which is crazy. We know each other, but we don't know each other because it's 40 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What you might do, Fred, is just put yourself on mute for a minute.
Yeah. But
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I just muted him. Let's see. 1, 2. 1, 2 check.
I might have to bail out if I can't hear.
No, don't touch anything. There's a little echo there, but
I can't hear.
I'm just gonna put Fred. I'm gonna put you on mute, and then when you want to ask a question, just raise your hand, and I can pipe you in.
So like this.
Yeah. All right, cool.
But
so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Thirsty Whale days, man. Yeah, many a night went home with one eye driving home like this.
Right.
So.
Yeah, now it's a McDonald's, but they have, I guess they have get-togethers like Thirsty Whale reunions and stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, it's been a while for me. I miss the Chicago scene a lot. Like I said, my first band was Powerage. It was an AC/DC tribute back in the early 80s. I was like 16, 17 years old. Yeah. Playing with those guys, just coming out of high school. And then, my brother was the drummer, and he went on to Hammer On, and eventually Ministry and Revolting Cocks and all those bands.
Really?
I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. My bro played with all those guys, and then Nine Inch Nails, of course, eventually.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, but I went and started Widow's Rose, and that was my band, and I was starting to kind of tell you guys a story about that. We put together an EP called Face to Face with Insanity that we sold about 4,000 copies, 4,000 or 5,000 copies of, and that was like how we survived for a couple of years. But my whole strategy back then was to trick everybody. I wanted everybody to think we were signed, and like even though we didn't have a record deal, I'm like, I don't care. We're gonna do everything we can to make people think we are signed. Yeah, and so I never called it a demo. Like basically it was like, this is not a demo. This is a product, and we're gonna sell it. And we did really, really well with it. But how it made it out to Arizona is just is a crazy, crazy story. I had met this girl out at we were doing a show out at Malo's. I don't know if Malo's out in Aurora. If you ever been to Malo's, I think it's called Riley's Rock House now or something like that. And this girl came out to see us, and I basically, she told me she was from Phoenix, Arizona, so I gave her like 10 or 20 tapes. I don't know how many. I really like, here, just give these all your friends. Let us know how you think. You don't think about it when it's happening at that point, but you send these across the United States, and I don't know, maybe a month later, I got a call back from a guy named Rob Rodriguez, who was a custom motorcycle builder. He was building motorcycles for Rob Helford.
Oh, wow.
And he had listened to it, and he called me at the time. It was like 1982, and he called me on one of those brick cell phones, and he's driving in his car, jamming out to Widow's Rose. He's like, dude, is this Jason and the Shredders? I'm like, who the hell is this? Like 2 a.m. He's calling me, on a cell phone, which was a big deal back then.
Oh, anyway, hell
yeah. Sure. Anyway, these guys threw a bunch of money at us, came out to Chicago. We did a show at the Gateway Theater.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the Gateway? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those nights where everything was kind of coming together. We had a really good crowd, and we were playing really well.
Yeah.
And these guys literally handed me like, something like $4,000 or $5,000. They said, here, just get the band to come out to Phoenix, and we'll start doing some recordings, and we're going to get you guys signed and all this stuff. And turns out they were crystal meth heads, and
whoopsie,
we almost got arrested when we got out there. But the point being is he got us out there,
Yeah. Right.
And I knew it was, it was one of those things where it's too good to be true, and when it turns out to, so we're out there, and like the FBI's busting this guy's house and everything, like DEA agents all over the place. We had to go in there and get our gear. And I was just like, we're just a band from Chicago. I don't even know what crystal meth is. I'm like,
right.
I've done some cocaine. That's about it. But
yeah, we didn't know what meth was.
No, totally. It was like, in Chicago, no, the mafia never let that stuff come there to Chicago.
No. Right?
No. But yeah, that's how we made it out.
If the mafia ran Chicago today, it'd be a lot different.
Yep. So, so that's how we kind of made it out to Arizona, and how that tape wound up in Flotsam and Jetsam's hands.
Nice.
Because Newstead joins Metallica. And the next thing there was another bass player in there too. Troy Gregory had done a record with them, but it wasn't gelling, in terms of like how they felt about the writing and stuff like that. So they were looking to start over with somebody else, and that's where I got my shot. And next thing you know, I was making records with Flotsam. So it was a pretty crazy whirlwind year. You wind up in just the whole fate of all of it, right?
Right.
Newstead dies. You don't think that has anything to do with your career, or Newstead, going from Flotsam to, Cliff Burton. I'm sorry, Cliff Burton dies. You don't think that has anything to do with your career. And next thing you know, you're making
caught up in it.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel? Because you probably had a larger spotlight shining on you.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
You probably had a brighter spotlight shining on you because of who you walked into as a band with Jason leaving, going to Metallica and all that. And
yeah, it's first couple of years, I want to say it was exciting as all hell. Yeah. Because you're still of that mindset that you're never going to get to do this professionally, right? So, when you get into the game, you're like, okay, I got my ticket. I'm in, and we're making records, and we're on a major label, and, and I'm going on tour. And, but eventually that stuff started to kind of wear off. And because of the stigma of of being in this guy's shadow, I mean, it was literally like after a while, press, I started hating dealing even with the press at all, because the press was always, the first question out of their mouth is Newstead, it's hard not to eventually go, go fuck yourself,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, especially after, you do a couple of records, you write a bunch of music, and, the first thing that comes out of, all of that is, so you never really got out from underneath it. Yeah. And I probably could have done better with it, in terms of like my attitude with it. But ultimately, I just wanted, us to sell, a lot of records, and hopefully people liked the stuff that we were writing, and I think we did a pretty good job. But, in the long term, long run, we weren't Metallica and we weren't Megadeth, that's for sure. So,
right. Mm-hmm. Well, there was plenty of room.
Yeah.
Now was Quattro your first record? Am I correct?
Yeah, Quattro was my first record. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great record, man.
Thank you, man.
Definitely.
I really appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They it was really weird too, man, because when I joined, they had brought out a bunch of bass players and stuff, and they did that whole cattle call thing. There was like, 5-6 guys coming out there. And, I was out there with Widow's Rose, and I was really tight with those guys. And I still had a pretty good feeling that, somewhere along the line, something might happen with Widows, and even though we were getting turned down a lot, because I was, sending out face-to-face to a lot of labels and just getting a lot of, no, sorry, we'll pass, so, but either way, I thought we were a pretty strong band, but when you get your chance, you got to take it. And
right,
I remember talking to a couple of mine around Chicago, saying, "Hey, should I do this?" Because it's a big decision, to turn your back on your friends and say, "I'm gonna go do this." And
how did the guys in Widows take it? I mean, did they understand it, or was it a little dicey?
It was tough, man. It was really tough. It was tough for everybody involved. I mean, I think Carlos and I, who were kind of the originators of the band, he probably took it the hardest out of anybody. He kind of took it personally, like, hey, I can't believe you're going to go do this. And, but Kevin was very cool, man. Kevin, Fred, Kevin, Kevin was very cool about it, saying, hey, you got to take your shot, and this is your chance, and go do it.
Yeah.
So there was definitely some difficult choices there for me to do all that, but and then of course Danny Vega went and filled in with Widow's Rose, so it was kind of like full circle, right? Danny Vega from Hammer On, my brothers in Hammer On, we're all in that same group of people. So, but yeah, it was just kind of I had to take that shot, and again, it led to so much more opportunity for me over the long run. I got to write a lot of music, but when I did join, because they had all these guys coming out and and playing with them, and there were some good guys, man. There were definitely some good players. I mean, and I had to be bluntly honest with them to say, hey, I never really listened to your stuff. And and I'm writing a lot of music, and I want to continue to write music. So if I'm not here to write music with you guys, then I'm not interested. So so that I didn't realize at the time that was fairly ballsy to do. Right. Because like, when I said that, the room was silent, like when I said that, and I'm like, so when I left, I was like, oh yeah, I probably screwed myself.
Probably blew that one.
I blew that wide open.
But you know what? No, I mean, why be in a band if you can't?
Yeah, you know what I mean. But that's just the way I handled
the writing process.
Yeah. I mean, I figured, look, if I'm gonna, leave my best friends and and leave a project that I just invested 5 years of my own life into, I better be able to do what I want to do. Yeah. And so unbelievably 3 days later, they're like, yeah, the gig's yours and we'll make you a full partner.
Nice.
Right.
So, I don't know how it worked out for Jason Newsted with Metallica, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't the deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Shit, they didn't even turn up his bass on.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
I know. Dude, if somebody did that to me, I would have fucking left.
Yeah.
I would have been like, right here, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Lars or Ulrich or Ulrich. I don't give a shit who you are.
Like killing it.
Yeah, that was shitty for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that, after all these years, but what a, I feel for Jace for that.
Yeah. They're constantly just fucking with them.
Yeah. Well, in the end, I'm sure it worked out pretty well because he still had millions of dollars.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I can attest to that because I went out to his house in Oakland before Quattro, and we did a little band together and everything called the Copper Biscuits. So we got to do this like pre-show out in Arizona with those guys. And I'll send you a picture of that. We have like a picture of all the people that were in that. It was like guys from Sacred Reich and myself and a couple other local band guys from Phoenix were in that. and Newstead, of course, and it was kind of fun. We were just doing covers and just crazy new originals and stuff. It was fun.
Yeah, Jason likes the name of the project band I'd have when I was back in high school, and someone's parents would go out of town. We'd all jam at whoever's house that was.
Right.
We were the Rotten Crotch Mongrels.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, we had a couple
of like SOD and MOD and
right.
I think everybody had a band like that. I was telling you guys about my other band, Frank White and the Spades. It was a band that we had put together. And then another one called the Bloody Stools that we did, and it was fun because we would do these shows and it would just be so incognito. We would go and do a show in Tempe and there would be like 500 people show up and like, we tricked them,
Frank White and the Spades.
Oh yeah, Frank White and the Spades. Dude, I was playing with this guy named Russell Workman, and he's on Facebook and everything. He has had a lengthy prison term. Which really put a damper on the whole Frank White and the Spades.
Right. You guys could have been big if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Right.
I honestly wanted to make a movie about Frank White and the Spades. That was like, because it was my idea, and I'm like, dude, we're gonna do something where we're gonna be completely fearless on stage. We're just gonna write songs that just offend people as much as possible,
Right.
And we had songs like Free Crystal and like, and Trailer Park Girl was another one, it's like big songs.
Nice.
And Punk You, which was like you in the ass, and these songs were just really hilarious. And he wound up going to do some time for a while, and then we kind of lost track of that. But I wanted to do a video of it because like the whole purpose of it was like to blow up this Frank White guy, like he was international terrorist, well-known swell guy, and mafia, former mafia assassin, and a fabulous dancer.
Right.
Of course.
It was hilarious. He came out on stage at Spider-Man Underoos one time with a giant with a cucumber in his shorts, it's hilarious, throwing
Jason,
bologna at the crowd.
Did you ever see Insane War Tomatoes?
What's that?
Did you ever see Insane War Tomatoes?
I don't know. I think I've heard of them. I think there was another band called Stevie Starlight that was similar to that in the Chicago area.
Stevie Starlight was around forever.
Yeah.
But these guys, they had this song called Raging Volcano. And, they had a big Smashing Pumpkins basically took the original or borrowed the idea for basically the original artwork of their avatar for the band.
Nice.
That's why everyone didn't like Smashing Pumpkins. We didn't understand how Enough's Enough and Smashing Pumpkins, out of all the bands in Chicago, those were the guys that got signed. No offense, they're their own thing, and hey, they put out music, they made money, good for them. But
hey, it's just like your fucking hot dogs, man. Same type of thing.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it is, I did do a show with Smashing Pumpkins before, with Widow's Rose. Widow's Rose and Smashing Pumpkins played together.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where it was. It was some sports bar. Out in the burbs, and like one of those one-offs, like I don't even know where this place is, never heard of it,
like the Chicken Basket or something.
Yeah, something like that, and we went out there, and it was it was a sparse show. There was maybe 30-40 people there or something like that, but but I think they went on first and then we went on after them, and it wasn't like a big show or anything, but it took me a while to realize that was the same band, when Smashing Pumpkins.
Right.
But I've had some crazy run-ins like that before too. I was dating a girl in Phoenix that was actually like our press agent for Flotsam and Jetsam, and we lived together for a couple of years. And she was asked to manage this band called Gray Days in Phoenix, and Chester Bennington was the singer of that band.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And they asked me to come and watch them play one night, and they were really boring. I'm sorry, it was just really not that good. You know, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, they're obviously can play, but it's just, I don't really hear anything here. Yeah. So that kind of fell apart. And the guy, I guess Bennington went to LA, and the next thing you know, he's in Lincoln Park. Right. So, you know, which, you know, that first record was
huge.
Damn good.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So this band, the Insane War Tomatoes, you'd start in the drum, you'd hear the drum bass going, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Everyone's, and then the curtain would go up, and there's a big ass behind the drum kit, and out of the butt cheeks comes a slide, and the whole band with the fog machine coming, you know, fog's coming out of the ass, and they'd slide out of the ass onto the stage. And then one of the guy had a Roman candle down in his spandex, and he'd whip it out during Raging Volcano. And like every time it would boom, boom, he was like humping the dude. These guys were, you know, like local bands just putting on like Alice Cooper type productions, man.
I love that. Yeah, that should have been huge. You mean they should have been arena tour with a big ass.
Yeah. It's almost like Green Jello or something, which I did a show with Green Jello once. You know, they were called, they had to, right at the time they were told to cease and desist and change your name to Green Jelly because Jello was suing.
Yeah.
And we played
by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Yeah. So those were the kind of gigs I was doing at the time. I'm like, really? We're gonna play with Green Jello? Okay.
Yeah. Scatterbrain. We have the dude from Scatterbrain coming on in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Scatterbrain. Mr. Bungle too. How about Mr. Bungle? Anyway, that show with Green Jelly was insane. Because we went and played with them at the Mall of America.
Oh wow.
And talk about not being prepared. The people that put this show on, you know, they built like a stage there and everything, and it was like, you know, 9-10 o'clock at night. The regular mall was like kind of already closed, and everything was just all these metalheads and goofballs, you know, were there. And we started doing our show, and they had no barriers at the front of the stage. Like nobody thought to put some barriers up for a Green Jello and Flotsam and Jetsam show.
Right.
Like, I don't know who missed that detail, but it was a pretty big detail. And the crowd is just going crazy. You know, we got this huge mosh pit going on, and the crowd is just surging and surging and surging towards the stage. And eventually they're sitting in my freaking lap while I'm playing bass, you know, like there's literally people on the stage, like, and promoters freaking out. One place, they're destroying shit in the mall. There's like mall people are freaking out about it. So they shut the show down. They like pull the PA system on us, which was the dumbest thing you could have done because now it's full on right. You know, you know, I'm like, you probably should have let us keep playing. At least they were occupied. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was pretty dangerous though, man. My crew guys were really more worried than anybody else because they were stepping on our shit, you know, knocking guitars over and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff, man.
So was Maynard and Danny from Tool in the band at that time when you played?
You know, if they were in that band, I didn't know that. But thank you. That's some good trivia. Were they actually in that band?
They were. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. They probably were, and I just didn't know it at the time.
Right. Yeah.
But Tool was kind of like a faceless band to me for a long time. I mean, I was listening to Tool and they had no idea what they looked like.
Right. Know? Yeah. They kept it low pro for quite a while.
Yeah. Which I loved about that. That was very Pink Floyd of them. You know what I mean? You know, really I didn't know what Pink Floyd looked like for 30 years.
Right.
You know. But yeah, Tool's a great band, man. God, what a great freaking band.
Yeah. Monstrous now, yeah.
I was so mad about them too, because that was the thing about being in the industry too. You'd hear about these deals that like these bands would get. And I think Tool got like $1 million up front to do their first record. And I was like, what? Like, where do I get my $1 million? What the hell? I was like pissed off, and I heard
you want like, that $1 million up front because it takes $4 million to pay back.
Yeah,
right. Well, I took a lot of money up front, but it wasn't $1 million. Let's put it that way. We weren't going to give yokels like me $1 million, but when I did hear their first record, I was like, well, okay, well, I guess I understand now.
There's a little bit going into it.
Yeah. Great band though. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so yeah, what was it like getting the call from Halford's camp? How'd that all happen?
Yeah. You know, that's the thing about my career in music. I've got so many weird stories, man, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of weird ones here too. So we had done we were sort of in breakup mode with Flotsam and Jetsam.
Okay.
And honestly, it was a bad time for me. I was going through a serious divorce. Jason Rainey from Sacred Reich was living with me at the time, and I was trying to pay rent and take care of a kid. And, you know, I had a lot of like negative stuff going on. And so I was broke. I'm like literally broke, you know, in Arizona, and trying to figure out how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to take care of stuff? You know, I got my wife taking me to court, you know, my ex-wife taking me to court for support and everything else, you know. So I was in a real bad spot. And out of nowhere, I get this call from Halford's manager, and you know, he's like, "Hey, man," he says, "I was wondering if you can come and meet me for dinner tonight at the Ritz." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I haven't eaten in a few days, you know.
Me at McDonald's.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, sure. So I go and have dinner with Halford's manager, you know, and he tells me a little bit of the story, and he doesn't give me a lot of details. But Anthony was their bass player at the time, and I knew Anthony. He was in a band with Mark Simpson, my guitar player for Flotsam, prior to joining. He was in a band called Oil, and he's an accomplished bass player, very good. So Anthony, I guess, had some trouble with a car accident or something like that, where some people got hurt or something like that. And don't quote me on that.
Yeah, something happened.
Something happened where he was going to be out of commission for a little while. Yeah. And so he's like, yeah, so we got these shows coming up, and, you know, we're doing New Year's Eve in Las Vegas, and, you know, and we've got about a month or so to get ready for this. And we've talked to Jason Newsted, and we've talked to Dave Jr. from Megadeth, and, you know, and your name came up, and, you know, and the bass player from Lizzie Borden. And I was like, oh, okay. So I take a bite of my steak. Like, let me just tell you this. I'm a lot cheaper than any of those. I could be in the bank in 20 minutes. All right. You know, and so next thing you know, they send me over a plane ticket and, you know, some spending money. And I jump on a plane, and I'm in Burbank the next day and meet up with Bobby Jarzambek, the drummer, who's absolutely fabulous.
Awesome. He's awesome.
I mean, just ridiculously great drummer, and Metal Mike on guitar, and Roy Z was filling in on the other guitar.
Yeah.
So I guess Patrick had left to go do stuff with the guys from Hell Yeah. I think he was going to go do some stuff with Hell Yeah at the time or whatever. I forget, but that's who was there. It was Roy Z on guitar and Metal Mike. And so I basically had to do a crash course and learn about 30, you know, Priest and Fight songs and Halford songs, you know, on my way there. And
I love the Fight band. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
That album was fantastic.
Yeah, JJ and I are really good friends. A former bass player from there. He still owes me $1 million worth of tattoos if I ever decide to get one. He literally gave me for my birthday. You know, I was just talking to him the other day too on Facebook. We hadn't caught up with each other in a while, but a mutual friend of ours had passed away, and I was like, "Hey, JJ, how you doing?" You know, and I'm like, "Dude, you remember on my birthday? You know, I was 23. You gave me that. Give me a gift certificate for $1 million worth of tattoos." I'm like, I'm still deciding on a picture. You know, I thought about a Bears logo right here, but boy, am I glad I didn't do that. You know, but but yeah, I get to Burbank, and I'm not shitting you guys. I've got two big stories here about this thing. As if jamming with Halford is not enough of a story for you guys. I want to hear about this. Yeah. So I get to Burbank, right, and I fly in. It was like late at night. I get to Burbank, and they set me up at like this, you know, this little, you know, extended stay hotel. It's got its own kitchen and everything, you know. So I get in there and I'm trying to listen to as much stuff as I can on the airplane. And when I get there, and so I get there and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and you know, in LA time. And so I'm like, shit, I gotta go get some toothpaste and some other stuff, you know. So I go across the street and I go into this drugstore, right? And I walk in and I look at this guy behind the counter, and he's standing there and he's kind of giving me this weird look, you know. And there's a bunch of items on the counter, like somebody was already buying something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think twice about it. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, so I walk in, I go look for my toothpaste, shampoo and stuff, right? You know, I come back to the counter and I give the guy the money and I pay for it. And he puts it in a bag for me, and I walk out, and the Burbank Police Department have guns drawn on me and told me to get on the floor and drop the bag. I'm like, like what? What did I do? I haven't even done anything. I've been here for 10 minutes. What do you guys want from me? Apparently they were in the process of being robbed. And there were 2 gunmen that were still in the back of the store. And they didn't know whether I was like one of them or not, you know. And I'm not shitting you, man. Those Los Angeles Burbank cops, you don't screw around, man. You know, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I was on my face. They had knees on my neck. They were throwing me in the back of the car. And I'm not shitting you. It took like an hour for them to finally go, okay, he's probably okay. I'm like, I don't have a gun on me. I've got toothpaste, you know. I mean, like, I got an Arizona driver's license. I mean, why would they make up C4? Yeah. So that's my first night in Burbank. I go jam with help. You know what I mean? I'm like,
welcome to California.
Yeah, welcome to California. But I got to tell you, the moment it happened for me with Halford was incredible. So we started working on songs, you know, for about a week before Halford actually got there. He was in England visiting family or doing whatever he was doing. So I had a week to kind of catch up, right? You know, get like 25, 30 songs down in a week with these guys. It was pretty breakneck, man. I mean, I knew a lot of the songs, man. Of course, you know, a lot of pre-songs and everything, but still, you know, to be able to play them and play tight with these guys was like, you know, I'm going home and doing homework, you know, after every practice. And so Halford shows up like, you know, a week into this thing. And, you know, the first 4 songs of the set were Painkiller, Riding on the Wind, and Bloodstone. We're like the first 3 songs.
Nice. Metal.
Yeah. And so he comes in and he walks up to me and he says, Jason, I want to thank you for coming to us in our hour of need. You know, like he says it just like Halford would say it, like, you know, hour of need. You know, and I was like, shucks, you say that to all your bass players, get out of here, you know. And so then, you know, so he sits down on the couch and he's like, all right, Bobby, what are we gonna do? You know, he's like, well, you want to try Painkiller? He's like, yeah, okay. Like, no warm up. We're just going to go right into Painkiller, right? You know?
Right.
And dude, I'm not kidding you, man. I mean, Eric AK is a great singer, and you know, but I've never heard anybody not need a PA system. You know, I mean, we were pretty loud, you know, and he's sitting on a couch and just belting this shit out like an air raid siren, like it's just a real boy, you know what I mean? Like, you're like gifted. Forget about it.
What the fuck?
Like just crazy. Like, wow, you're the Pavarotti. You know, that's it. You're the man for sure. So yeah, I got to do 5 shows with him. Or maybe it was 4. I don't remember now. I was like I said, not in a good place in my life. I was probably drinking a lot too. But I do have a secondary story to all this that's even more bizarre than the first one. And so I want to tell you guys this because it's probably one of the more interesting ones. We did a show in Hollywood at the House of Blues in Hollywood, right off of anyway, we do the show and everything, right? And the show was great. We finish up the show, and you know, if you guys have ever been in the House of Blues, you know, there's all kinds of VIP rooms and little, you know, nooks and crannies. Definitely the same way in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So I come out of the room, you know, I'm like ready to party a little bit, you know. I mean, it's just play with Helford. I'm psyched, see what kind of women I can drum up around here, right?
Yeah, right.
There's this gorgeous chick sitting there at one of the VIP rooms, and she's like the bouncer, like the person that lets people into this VIP room, right? So I walk up to her and I say, "Hey, can I get in there?" She's like, "No, you don't have the right pass." I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm in a band." I just got off stage. Yeah, you're not important enough to get into this room.
Damn.
So I was like, "Well, that's crazy. I've never been anywhere where the band wasn't allowed to go in." Like, all right, that's cool. So I start macking on her a little bit. She was gorgeous, man. So I'm kind of hitting on her a little bit. Anyway, so I go out and have a smoke, right? And I'm out there having a smoke, and as I'm having a smoke, this Carmen Gia pulls up with a guy with a big fro of hair like this. And side note, that's Phil Spector.
Ah.
So he jumps out, right? And he walks up to me and he's like, "Hey," he says, where's this VIP room thing? And I'm like, "Yeah, go talk to her, man. That's the room right there. She'll let you in." He'd shoot that girl 24 hours later.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was the chick he killed?
Wow. I remember that trial and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there for that. If I had just told him the other room, I would have saved that girl. I don't know.
Dude, your life has been
all she had to
less
do
than
was
boring.
you in that room.
If I just said, "No, they won't let you in there, man. You're not important enough."
Fucking long hair, get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here with your crazy hairdo and your Carmen Gia. I knew he was important, though. I mean, you don't park in front of the House of Blues in Hollywood and not have somebody tow it if you're not important.
Yeah, they're kind of in a weird location there, too.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're in Hollywood for 2 nights, and you're involved in an armed robbery and a murder. Nice.
Yeah, although that was probably about a month or so later when we did the Hollywood show, because we played at the House of Blues in Vegas on New Year's Eve, and that was my first show with them. And I was trying to do my best Ian Hill impersonation. I'm standing back there. I'm trying not to get out in front. I'm like, I'm not going to upstage Rob Halford. It's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing my best Ian Hill the whole show. Plus, it was nerve wracking, man. I didn't have a lot of time to learn this stuff. You know what I mean? So I had to get out there and rock with these guys.
Yeah, you're on the stage with the biggest metal singer ever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Of all time.
So
it's like playing with Babe Ruth or something. Like, I better I can be ready.
Yeah,
so
Babe Ruth, Babe's like, "Hey, you want to go down to the batting cages with me?" You're like,
yeah, exactly. So I'm doing my best Ian Hill. I'm staying out of the way for everybody. But dude, when we did Electric Eye, I couldn't help it anymore. I'm like, and I'm not kidding you. That's probably the one time in my life I was literally outside of my own body. Yeah. I'm like, I am playing Electric Eye
with the man
right now.
Yeah, what was it like to look over and he's singing the and just totally rocking?
It was surreal. It was literally surreal. And Craig Nielsen, who was playing drums with Flotsam at the time, was there at that show because he lives in Las Vegas, and he said he had goose pimples during that song in particular. He could tell that I kind of was shedding my skin, and I'm like, I'm there, and I'm in the moment, and I'm playing the song, and it was just such a flashback for me because I was in high school when
Screaming came out.
Yeah, and if you would have told me in high school I was going to be on stage playing Electric Eye with him, I would have just had a heart attack, probably died, 15 years old, So, but anyway, I finally start to venture out on this song. I don't care. I'm psyched. The song rocks. I'm going to get out there. I don't give a shit. And so I walked out to the middle of the stage, and as we were getting to the end of the song, electric protected, Electric Eye, Rob turns around and we're both face to face, and I'm fucking like this, with the bass, and he's like this, and it was just a moment. And that's that, Craig said that, he said that was just goose pimple central. And I'm like, yeah, for me too,
Yeah, no shit.
And it was cool because we finished on that last note and he's just carrying it out, the last note on it. And as he finishes it, he just shakes my hand, and then he turns around and he goes, Jason Ward from Flotsam and Jetsam, let's give him a hand helping us out here. I was just like,
I can die now.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, that's it. There's nothing left in this world for me to accomplish.
Right. Me and Pat, we did 2 album by albums of Judas Priest, track by track, go through every song.
Yeah.
And we've done a bunch of bands like Whitesnake, Jason, and Dio and Halford are the only 2 that we never got listening fatigue from. Every other band, like Sammy Hagar, by the time it was on album Forward Van Halen, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things, but Halford is just never, even same with Ronnie, even if it's a bad song, they're the shining example.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're just iconic voices. I mean, I could say the same thing about, about Rob and a couple other folks too in the business that are like that.
Right.
They're just so unbelievably talented. Chris Cornell is somebody that's like that too.
Yeah.
Where your heart just bleeds when that guy would sing. And luckily I wrote a song with him too.
Nice.
On the Drift record, he wrote lyrics for a song called that Mike and I had put music to, called The Message. And that was at the time, like, Chris Cornell was just starting to break big, and MCA was like, hey, we want to get some outside writers to kind of bring attention to the record. And so he had sent us these lyrics. Now, I never met him. He basically got whatever money MCA sent him over to present one of the songs. But yeah, off of the Drift record, if you ever get a chance, it's called The Message.
Check it out.
It was originally called Murder is the Message, and for some reason our MCA thought that was too strong. They wanted to get radio airplay with it, and they're like, well, Murder is the Message, how's that going to come across? I'm like, I'm sure Chris Cornell doesn't care.
Right.
If Chris Cornell's writing it, I'm sure it works,
Yeah.
But they decided to tone it down a bit and call it The Message. I'm like, all right, whatever. So that's big label for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is funny. That I'm going to a show at the Vic next week.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm gonna The Darkness.
Right.
And then I'm going to at the Chicago Theater. I'm gonna go see Ringo.
Okay.
I always wanted to see Ringo, so that's going to be kind of funny to see all the people in wheelchairs there,
Yeah, we're getting old, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. We I was Eric AK and I have kicked around the idea because he's been talking about trying to do a solo project, and I was like, well, maybe I can write some songs. I haven't written any music in like probably 15-20 years.
It's time.
For me, you have to suffer. You got to be suffering to write music.
Right.
I've been way too happy for the last 20 years. I'm like rainbows and and unicorns. That's just not good material. When I was starving, that's when I really could really crush it.
Yeah. The starving artist syndrome.
That'd be awesome, though. You should, man.
Yeah. So you're down in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida, which is, a desolate wasteland of music, really.
Yeah.
That's where me and Jason met back in college in 90.
Early 90, yeah.
Yeah.
We went to school in Fort Lauderdale.
I'm playing a lot more golf these days. That's pretty much what I do. I do a lot of golfing, and I'm still not good at it,
That's all right.
Yeah. It's all right. I've only broken a few.
So do you play regularly anymore? Or do you just kind of step away from it? Or
I was doing a little thing with a local band here for a while. Some friends of mine that used to live in Chicago that knew a girlfriend of a friend of a guy I knew, and he had a band called Gunner Down out here that was doing just covers and playing some clubs around here, and I played with them for a little while, and my wife basically kind of had to break it to me after 4 or 5 shows. She's like, yeah, this is not it's not good. you guys are not good, you know. Like,
gotcha.
What it is you're not good is what the problem is, you know. So
a little harsh, you know, but
yeah, but
I never let girlfriends or wives were never allowed at the practice. Never.
But but she had kind of like a point that it was like, you know, you're
right.
You're used to a level of musicianship that these guys are just simply not on, you know. And I was like okay with it, but at the same time, I can understand where she was coming from because there were some times I was like, oh yeah, that's not good, you know. But I was kind of just doing it for fun. But no, literally, I kind of stopped playing for about 8 or 9 years, really, since I've been here. And then recently, a friend of mine passed away, and for whatever melancholy reasons, you start going, hey, maybe I should play a little bit. And so I am doing my YouTube page now where I'm doing playthroughs. Awesome. And I think, Jason, you said you checked out a couple of things.
I did.
Yeah, I subbed yesterday. I was watching stuff.
So that's kind of what I've been doing recently, and it's a lot of fun for me. I don't know how much people are getting out of it or care, about it.
Blast, man! It's amazing the information that we get from doing this.
Yeah.
And dude, actually, some of the based on the comments, I think people are loving that you're doing it.
I'm trying to get that kind of off the ground, and and hopefully get some more subscribers and whatnot. But what I think is amazing for me is that when you stop writing music and you stop playing for a long period of time, you forget how much you did. And and it kind of hit me one day because this guy was playing a song off of Unnatural Selection, a song called Brain Dead. And he's playing it, right? So I was like, oh, Brain Dead. Wait, I don't remember that song at all, So I'm like listening to it, and I'm like, wait a second, did I write this? Because sometimes it would be Mike, or it'd be me, or it might be Ed, or it might be somebody else, And the only way I could really tell whether I wrote it is if I picked up a guitar, and if I could play the riff, then it's probably mine.
Yeah,
right. And you're like, oh, not mine.
Yeah, right. Right. So that kind of got me thinking about it, and I was like, I really need to kind of go through my catalog again and revisit some of these songs. And and it's been a lot of fun. However, there is one record that I'm kind of intentionally avoiding a little bit, and that is Drift, because it was so my brother had died in 1995. When that record came out, and I was on the Quattro tour when I got news about that, so I basically had to leave my first tour to go home and bury my brother. So it was a really crazy time for me because it's like, hey, I waited my whole life to go on the road, and for the first time ever, I'm like doing these shows and I'm just not even there. I'm like, man, I'm just because it's just some things are just bigger, than all of that.
I lost my brother to suicide 3 years ago.
Yeah, and that's how I lost mine too. I don't know if you guys know the story about it, but yeah, he was so he was doing 9 Inch Nails, and then he was out of 9 Inch Nails, and he'd done ministry and a couple other things. But yeah, he basically decided to check out. And it was it was like a huge boulder that just crashes into your pond.
Sure. Yeah.
So
unbelievable.
Yeah. So Drift is a record that, I dedicated to him, and the music on it is extremely emotional for me. Right. It really is, and so I started listening to it, and I started realizing, oh my God, this is like sticking a knife right back into my, into my spleen, so to speak, it's
your grief capsule.
Yeah. So I've kind of sidestepped it a little bit. I did one song off of it, which is the first title track off of it, which is me. And then, but I'm going to start kind of going back to that. And it's like, it's there, and I know I want to do it, but I want to do
got to be the right time.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And, it's funny. I feel like one of these Luddites. I'm like, hey, I'm learning how to do YouTube. Have you heard of YouTube?
Hey, we're right there with you, man.
Well, you know, I'm like watching these people on YouTube, which is like my new guilty pleasure. Like I go to sleep and I'm like, before I go to sleep, I'm just going to YouTube for a while, you know, and I don't know what the algorithms are. They tend to send a lot of stuff to me, and it's like usually about movies and stuff. And people are just like, you know, I'm looking at them, they got like 40 million like subscribers, and all they're doing is watching movies and talking about it. I'm like, I could do something that's a little more involved than that, right? I'll take my 125 subscribers and play my music.
Don't get hung up on that, because we've been doing the same thing, and it's like it's not really any kind of indication necessarily about.
And what hits will make no sense to you at all.
Yeah.
And so now, like, we found out what was hitting for us on Tunage, and now we cover international bands that happen to be fronted by females.
There you go.
We started out we were going to do blues rock.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't want to do, you know, This Week in Metal in 1982.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, we post, you know, really good metal stuff, and just people don't, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, it's kind of weird out there, but it's been fun for me. I mean, I am enjoying it. You know, I think the latest one I did was off of the High record. I kind of just skipped around a little bit. But I'm going to kind of continue going through it. And, you know, it's astonishing to me that I did that much work. You know, it just kind of blew by, you know, and some of the moments that come back to you in your brain about it, you know, like when we were doing the High record, we recorded that record in Phoenix at this recording studio called Vintage Recorders. And I was so like obsessive compulsive at the time. Plus I was on a lot of drugs, but I was like in the studio for like 4 days straight without sleeping. Just like I took over the B room there. I mean, I took their couch and I'm like, I'm just going to sleep here whenever I get to sleep. And then, you know, like, you shouldn't smoke in the studio. I'm like smoking packs of cigarettes. I don't even care, you know.
I'm going to sleep here after this quarter ounce of cocaine's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, we were recording one of the first songs off the record called Final Step. And I was doing these acoustic guitar parts, right, where I just kept layering acoustic guitar parts over the top of each other. I probably put like 30 or 40 different tracks on it. It was just crazy. We went bonkers on it. And I didn't realize it, but Stevie Nicks walked into the studio.
Oh, wow.
Was sitting there watching us record this thing. And I'm not a Stevie Nicks fan. I'm not a Fleetwood Mac fan, you know, if anything. You know, this wasn't like somebody I really got into or anything. And
like,
so
get out of the room.
Yeah. So I'm walking out and she walks up to me and says, "Hey, that was really cool. That stuff you guys are doing, and that's really unique and cool." And I was like, "And you are?" She's like, "I'm Stevie." I'm like, "Well, nice to meet you, Stevie. I gotta go."
Yeah.
My girlfriend comes out to me after that. And she's like, "Are you nuts?
Like, you know who that was?
That was Stevie Nicks." I'm like, "Wait, who's that?" I mean, like, that's how like out of it I was, you know. I mean, you know, it took like 10 minutes for her to tell me who Stevie Nicks was, and oh, that's Stevie Nicks. Okay, you know. So yeah, another crazy story.
Nice.
Jason, do you have a favorite of the 8 albums you were on? I personally loved Ugly Noise. I think that was the last one you were on. And how could you not love an album that has the song "Motherfuckery" on it, right?
So Ugly Noise, I didn't write a single song on it. That was so there was some tumultuous stuff that had happened where AK had kind of reconnected with Mike Gilbert and Kelly Smith, and there was a push by them to put together the Drift lineup again, you know, which I was definitely on board for. But you know, but Craig and I and Mark Simpson and I were still really good friends too. And it was through all of that I realized they weren't really all that concerned about it either. So it was kind of just happened, you know. And it was a unique thing for, you know, it typically doesn't happen with a band, right? Where two members who quit years before all of a sudden want to be back in it, you know. Right. And so it, you know, they got it together. I was in definitely a different place at the time. You know, I was definitely not into touring anymore. I didn't want to tour anymore. You I was doing my second career essentially, in the business world, and, going and taking 3 months off to go to Europe was just not part of the plans anymore for me, and so they were like, well, let's do this record. We've got music. Mike's got a bunch of songs, and, we really want to do this together. So I said, all right, yeah, let's do it. So I went out there and just basically recorded the music for him. So I'm pretty detached from that record, honestly. I couldn't even tell you the names of the songs on it. Obviously Ugly Noise is one of them. I think, Motherfuckery is another one. Run and Hide, I think, is another one off of that record, if I remember correctly. But it's not one that I was like vested in, so to speak. And it became quickly obvious when I was there that they were preparing to go, full tilt, being back in the band, and I wasn't really at that place in my life anymore. So I knew, like, I'm gonna finish this, and this will probably be it, for me and Flotsam. And it turned out that's where it was, and I was okay with that. It took me a long time to get to that point, where you're like, okay, I'm ready to let go. For many years, it was was my identity. That's
and I see all these older guys out there, like older than us, like in their 70s. Why in the hell would you want to tour? Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Even in the best conditions, it's such a pain in the ass to travel.
No, I liked doing shows. I mean, I still long to want to get up and do some jamming with people and stuff. I'm probably well past that now. We'll see if I ever get a chance to get up on stage and play with somebody again. It would be great if I could. And it's nice to know, doing these videos, to know that I can still play, but touring is it's just a whole nother thing, and not something that even when it was good, I didn't enjoy it, because it was like, there were literally nights where, when you do 11 shows in a row,
that sucks.
It's like, it's just all one big blob of playing the same music every night, and that becomes not really fun, and then it becomes even less fun when there's so much other bullshit involved in it. The logistics of getting there, the logistics of whether or not somebody's going to screw you over, which most of the time they do.
They will.
Everybody's on the take, and that's just the music industry, and that's just how it's been, and how it's always going to be. I don't even know how people make money anymore, honestly. Does anybody make any money in this industry anymore?
Not really.
I think Taylor Swift is probably the only one.
Oh, here's something interesting. Live Nation will no longer take percentage of merch.
Wow.
They just announced that like a day and 2 days ago.
You know what I used to do with that? When people would want a percentage of my merch, I throw it in a bus and leave as soon as possible. So.
Yeah.
Well, like the venues are taking some, and then the promoters are taking like 20. So the band's only walking away with 10-15% of merch.
Oh, their merch,
Why would you pay all that cash for 10%?
It's ridiculous.
They should get none of it, I mean.
But that's where it's at. Hey, pretty soon AI will be writing all our music. It'll be all right. Needs band members. Maybe like me, a lot younger, but like better music. I don't know. Maybe that's where we're aiming. I could be really successful that way. I'll do my solo project, right? Jason and AI, bam. So
tell us about the shovel.
The shovel, man. The Charvel Jackson. I still have that bass. I don't think it's ever going to leave me. It still sounds great. I did a short video on it. But it got its name because of Eric AK gave it its name. He's like, dude, that's the shovel. You could kill people with this thing. I think the first time, the first legendary thing that happened with that is I actually, believe it or not, I have fallen down on stage a few times. Most embarrassing time ever was I got all excited at this show in New Jersey. I'm like, man, I'm going to make an entrance, man. These people are not going to forget, and we're waiting for the intro tape, and I'm there, and I'm like at the starting line, and, it's like gun goes off, and I go bucking out there for the first, notes of No Place for Disgrace, or wherever the hell we were playing. And I hit the front of the stage, and some jackass did not tie down whatever case was the stage, with the monitors on it.
Yeah.
And that fucker rolled out about 4 feet into the audience. And I went right over the top of these things. And I'm just, I mean, I think it sounded like this, like, boom, like, oh my God. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm really glad it happened before the onset of the internet.
Right.
I'm sure that would have made it onto something,
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, man, I landed on, I don't know, 10 or 15 people with my bass, and it came off of me, and I was like, it's like a car accident, The funny part about it is my crew guys go running out there. And they go and like run out there, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, help me up, man.
No, they were looking for the shovel.
On the ground, and he grabbed the Charvel, like, is it okay? Bring it over here, quick! Get it over to guitar line. We got to make sure it's all right.
Yeah,
I think I broke a couple strings on it or something like that. But it was just a wicked wipeout, and it was back up and running in 2 minutes. They threw a string on it, I'm ready to go. But that's how it is, man. The fire story, man, when we had the fire, and I don't know how gold chips come up through the paint and how it survived a cataclysmic fire like it was in. But 3 weeks later, we're recording high, and I'm pulling it out of the case after my guitar wizard guy had cleaned it up and got in there with some WD-40 and a bunch of other stuff, and man, it was just like, but yeah, that's what's on the YouTube video. If you look at it, I try to show all the, the bubbled up parts of the headstock and everything, like one of the tuning pegs, like burnt all the paint off of it. So it kind of looks like it's looking at you like this. And, and I actually got a chance to meet Charvel. The man himself. He was at the show in Chicago, actually, when we played with Megadeth at the Riviera. Nice. And Megadeth, Korn, and Fear Factory with us at the Riviera Theater. And he came on the bus, and I was like, dude, tell me elves made this bass, struck by lightning, and you used Excalibur to give it its power, Right. It still just rules. So
there's a documentary on Amazon right now called The Charvel Guys, the original Charvel gang or something. Yeah, really good.
Check that out. I'll have to check that out.
But it was amazing that all these guys just started building guitars, and
yeah,
they got white hot, and then who knows?
Yeah, I bought it. I bought a knockoff. Well, not even a knockoff, but it was a Jackson guitar, because like when AK and I were talking about doing some songs, I ran out to Guitar Center out here, and I got $200 Jackson Strats. I'm like, $200? Sure, I'll buy it. It sounds great.
Yeah, Fender owns them now.
Yeah. So Fender's like mass producing them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but yeah, it's got the cool Jackson on it. I don't know. I always love that logo, but mine's got the old Charvel, logo on it. Still a little guitar Charvel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bought that at Making Music, and now this should tell you something about it, about that bass, because I was working at Guitar Center at the time, and Making Music was across the street over there in Milwaukee, or whatever that street is. Maybe it's Dempster or something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been back there, but I went across the street, and man, it was like I just loved the color of it, man. I loved it was just there, and I think I paid $800 for it.
Yeah,
$800 for that guitar, which in 1985 was
some dough.
A lot of money, And I didn't care. I needed to have that bass. I think I threw $100 at him. I'm like, dude, I'll be back with the rest of the money. Put that behind the thing. I'm gonna buy it. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big equipment guy. I never really had a lot of guitars. I've had a couple of endorsements and whatnot, but my equipment got so big by the time I got to Flotsam and Jetsam, I tried to quit a couple of times. I'm like, all right, I'm staying. I can't put that anywhere in my house.
What What were your amps of choice back in the day?
So I inherited some Ampeg stuff when I first joined the band. So they had an endorsement for Troy Gregory, who had Ampeg SVTs, and that's pretty standard, you know.
Yeah.
At the time, I was very happy with that. I'm like, this will work, you know.
An SVT is one killer bass amp, no doubt about it. Yeah.
But you know, I got an interesting story about that because my very first show with Flotsam and Jetsam, you know, you want to talk about throwing a party for yourself, like a night that was made for me. Like, so, you know, I was in the band for about 6 months. We had done a couple of small shows incognito to get some playing time out there. Yeah. You know, it's really small clubs in Arizona, but the big show was going to be the KUPD festival at Compadre Stadium in Mesa, Arizona. That's where the Oakland A's, you know, play their spring training games. Yeah. And the lineup with us headlining, by the way, Flotsam and Jetsam headlining with Sacred Reich opening. Pantera went on before them. Wrathchild America.
Oh yeah. That's our band.
Chris Poland from Megadeth, his solo band.
Wow.
And so that was my first show with Flotsam. And so I get there, right, you know, to start, you know, getting set up and everything. I mean, the stage is just massive. I mean, 10 times larger than any stage I've ever been in my life. You know, I'm talking stadium sized. You know, this was big time. This was as big as anything out there. We had, you know, and we had scrims and we had different levels. We had, you know, stairways and shit like that. You know, it was like this was our moment, you know, in Phoenix. And, you know, we had these big scrims. They had the Doomsday background, which was all the burnt out buildings and, you know, Flotzilla and stuff behind there. You know, it was pretty cool. And anyway, before all of that went up, they had all this gear up there for Pantera, and Pantera's gear was just ridiculous. He's just a shitload of Marshalls, and Rex's bass amps were just huge. It was like he had like a Michael Anthony from Van Halen kind of setup, you know, different speaker sizes and cabinets and, you know, stuff hanging and some other things here and some bridges of like amplifiers on top of each other, you know, and I had one SVT that looked like an ant compared to everything else, right? You know. So I'm like, I'm already feeling like, you know, I got a small penis. And so I go up there and I plug it in, right? You know, I'm plugging in the amp and my amp is, I don't know, 30 feet, 40 feet from the front of the stage. And so I plug it in, you know, I had a wireless and I start, you know, and I crank it up pretty loud, a lot louder than I normally do. Cause I'm like, man, this is a really big stage. I better be able to hear this thing. And I think I pegged it as loud as it could go, really. And I went to the edge of the stage and I couldn't hear a damn thing. I was like, I started panicking. I was like literally like ventilating. I'm like, we need to go buy some amps. Can we go to guitars? Can anybody go to guitar? We need to buy some amps. I can't hear a damn thing, man. You know, I'm freaking out. And the sound guy, his name was the Iceman, Jimmy, comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, you know, don't worry, brother. I got you. I'm like, what? He's like, this is your first time on a really big stage, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, come here, man. I want to show you a couple things. So he walks me over to the side of the stage. He's like, you see these babies right here? These are side fills. These 4 big things right here, these are for you. I'm like, okay. You know, and he says, and then we walk out to the front and he says, now these 4 over here, these are also for you. He says, and I can put you in there and whoever else you want in there. He goes, I can even put a couple of hookers in there for you if you want, you know. I'm like, great. I'm like, awesome, you know. So he's like, now just go back there and start playing. He goes, I'll start bringing you in, you know. And I'm not kidding you, man. After a couple of minutes, I'm like, you could hear cars in the parking lots, alarms going off. I mean, like, thing was just thundering, you know, like, okay, all right, I'm good.
Your bones are just in the dust.
Yeah, and that's when I kind of realized when I went behind Rex's gear, most of those amps didn't have any speakers in them.
Right. Dummy cabs.
Yep. Exactly. And I'm like, man, they've been fooling me all these years. You know?
Right.
Oh my God, me and Jason used to get drunk nightly to I Ain't Drunk, I'm Just Drinking by Rothschild America.
Yeah, there you go.
Cover of a Willie Dixon tune, I believe. But
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah, it was
God.
a hell of a night. Rob Halford did come to that show. It was the first time I met him. And then Newstead came to that show as well. And a couple other folks. But the best moment from that show that I remember is when we were getting on stage. You know, Rex was really super cool to me from Pantera. I mean, really cool. And Dimebag too was just a lovely person. I get bummed when I think about it. You know, I don't like to think about that because those guys were really nice guys, even if they did try to steal my tech a couple of times from me. Chris Cooper. But yeah, they were like, dude, you need to come on the road with us, because I had this guy. I mean, he throw himself in front of a bus for you.
Yeah.
But they were on the side of the stage for me when we were getting ready to go on, and we had this big long intro tape, and this is it. This is my moment, right? To get out in front of this, sold out 20,000, people there at Compadre Stadium. And Rex was just like, man, go kill him, man. You got it. You got this, man. It was just a really cool moment. And I walked out there and I just put my arm up like this. And, just to see 77 rows of hands like that. Right. And the only thing that I could think of in my head, and I know this is really weird, but the thing that went through my brain was, this is what Hitler must have felt like.
Jesus.
This is pretty intoxicating. I get it. No, I get it. I know why the guy did what he did. No, I'm kidding. Of course, but yeah, that's what goes through your brain. You're like, wow, that's an incredible rush of power.
It's heavy,
and it was just a tremendously cool show. But it's just such a different experience from anything I've ever had in my life, because we had these the catapults that went out into the audience and stuff, and you're 30 feet in the air. You're like, it's like kind of going out on a diving board. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall off of this. Me, I've fallen down enough times, So it was definitely very cool. But
you got the red ropes for you.
Yeah. Really, yeah. You just make sure that guy doesn't fall off, But yeah, it was great,
Awesome.
So anyway, yeah.
So okay, serious Chicago question: thin crust or stuffed?
I love them both, man. But I live here in Florida, where it's a pizza wasteland of nothingness.
Yeah.
So, which is probably good for me, because I'd probably be 500 pounds. If there was a Lou Malnati's around here, I would just go nuts. Yeah. I'm not so much a Geno's guy. I was definitely a Lou's guy for sure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I remember the days. Remember Nancy's Pizza? Do you remember Nancy's?
Yeah, they got Nancy's Pizza here in town where I live.
They still got one out there? I thought they shut that sucker down, but I remember that thing. That was like 50 pounds of cheese.
I can't wait. I got to get up there, man.
Yeah, we got an Uncle Pete's Pizza here that used to be, you could order, which one do you want, the 5 pound or the 7 pound? I mean, it was this thick. I mean, there's no shit.
Yeah, I remember it was like that thick, and it was just all cheese, and it took like 3 hours for it to cook.
Put a layer of sausage on the bottom, put the cheese sauce.
Yep.
And then another dough, and then they'd put sausage around the crust. It'd take like an hour to cook.
I need that. I need that in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like an outing, man. You go to Nancy's Pizza and you'd be like, you order a pizza at like 6 o'clock and then drink the entire time waiting for the pizza, and the pizza would show up about 9 o'clock. Oh, it's done finally. Like 15 hours later.
Yeah, when Jason comes out here, I'm going to send him to a bunch of places and tell him to get ketchup on his hot dog.
Oh, I like ketchup on my hot dogs.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But only outside of Chicago city limits you can ask for a hot dog.
You definitely, Gene and Jude's next door to the Thirsty Whale. They don't even.
Oh yeah, Gene and Jude's. Yeah,
Gene and Jude's Rubber Dog.
I just had Portillo's.
There you go. Yeah. I was just in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and about a month ago now. But yeah, I was able to go to Portillo's and all my favorite stops while I was out there. But yeah, we did lose downtown, and lose is still, to me, it's like if I'm on death row and there's one meal left, it's probably a lose pizza. Yeah, nice. That's what I would do. That would be the choice for sure.
And of course, we love our Giordano's of Downers Grove.
Yeah, Giordano's is fine, but it's kind of like the McDonald's of Chicago pizza. It's like, it'll work. We've got them out here in Florida, but you have to go down to like Mickey Mouse Land to go get one. So it's kind of there for the transplants. It's not over here by like the regular people.
I was over hearing people talking about, they just got back from Disney World, like, $1,100 a person.
Wow. Oh yeah, it was for sure. Done. Yeah, I've done Disney World a bunch of times now. I will say this, that Rise of the Empire ride, it might be actually worth the $1,100. Like, it's so ridiculously immersive. Like, they literally put you into the movie. Like, nice. You're there. There's 50 stormtroopers standing in front of you. You're on the deck of a Star Destroyer. Its sets are 50 feet high with full-size TIE fighters parked in front of you. Like, just crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, last night we just taped episode, we did a sci-fi for Star Wars episode 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Mm-hmm.
We've been doing the movies chronologically.
Yeah.
Every Friday, so it's interesting as you go. I'm not quite the fan of the sequels, but
no, I think I've kind of come to the end of my excitement about it.
But Ahsoka, if you haven't watched that, holy shit, watch that.
Yeah, is it good? I'll probably give it a try. I'll give it a try. I really do like Andor.
Yeah, that was really good.
Really fantastic, and I really liked Rogue One. That was the sequel.
Rogue One was great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely sand in your mouth. They're not trying to sell you
back the excitement of when like we first saw the first one in 78.
Yeah, definitely.
Like there's imposing figures, there's new mythology, there's new worlds and stuff. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're gonna totally love Ahsoka for sure.
Absolutely.
But that's a lot of dough to drop for amusement park,
Yeah. Well, I'm a Florida resident, so I can just go down there and pull the old resident card out. And no, I'm kidding. I've done it a couple times. I brought the kids. I've done the grandkids and somebody else's grandkids too, and somebody else's. And I'm such a big kid. I still love it. I mean, I'll get on Space Mountain any day of the week, twice on Sunday. But yeah, you gotta definitely take a break from it for a while when you live down here, because it's just like,
mouse overload.
I used to work on Universal a lot in LA, and that was like, Jesus,
Well, Universal down here
we go somewhere, we go like this. And I don't know how many pictures we're in because we were just fucking with people,
Yeah.
Oh, that's someone.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, the Universal out here is pretty awesome too. The Spider-Man ride is still. Never get sick of that. I could get on that ride 100 times in a row and be entertained by it every time.
Nice.
The 3D stuff. I don't know if you guys ever got a chance to it out here in Florida, but it's pretty cool.
Right.
Anyway,
far away from the days of Dispensa's Kitty Kingdom.
Yeah. Well, the first time one of the Kitty, there was Kitty Land too out in
yeah.
When I was like 5 years old, my parents would take me there. And no matter how long we were there, when we'd leave, I'd cry my eyes out. I'm like, I want to get on the roller coaster one more time.
Yeah. Old Chicago was another one. That was a great.
Yeah. First upside down roller coaster I ever been on. The Chicago Loop. They called it the Loop, right?
Yep.
Which is fitting. But yeah.
Santa's Village was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah.
It's amazing what, kids will be like, you did what?
Yeah. What's really funny is like when I was a kid, my old man, I'd ask him to take me to Great America, right? Which was like, it was like 12 years old or something like that. My old man said, here's $100. Hit your way up there.
Right.
Out there and check it out. This is so funny. This is how different life was back then, right? So me and my friend Roger go out to the highway, entrance to the highway. stick out our thumbs, right?
Yeah.
And this big fat black guy in a Cadillac convertible pulls over and he's like, "Where are you kids going?" And they're like, "We're going to Gurnee, Great America." He goes, "Well, hop in, I'll give you a ride."
Right on.
He took us right to the doorstep. I mean,
Awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, hitchhiking was fun.
Yeah, that was like okay back then. There wasn't
Like you'd think, oh man, we're gonna have to get like 6 rides in order to get to Elmhurst, and then like boom, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Elmhurst. I'm like, oh, cool, sweet.
Yeah.
Nowadays it'd be like, put the lotion on your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I remember buying season tickets for Great America for my paper route money. It was $29.50, and then it went up to $31.95, and it was $33.95.
Yeah,
and those
now
are the best 3 summers ever. Where I saw "I Love Candy" by Bow Wow Wow, Live Wire video, the Clash. I mean, that's
Well, my son
there.
My son out in Phoenix, Arizona, would never go on a roller coaster with me as a kid. He's 27 now.
Yeah.
Finally, I got him on the Velocicoaster at Universal. Now he can't stop getting on roller coasters. So we met up in Los Angeles. I was out there on business, and he's like, "Dude, let's meet at Magic Mountain." So we went to Magic Mountain last October, probably right around this day. It was my birthday. My birthday is October 3rd too, by the way. I'll be 5 years old. Oh, and
happy birthday.
I'll be 56, but it's not years old. And so last year we went out to Magic Mountain, right? And I'm not shitting you. We got to the front gate to get into place. There was 9 people other than ourselves that walked in for the day.
Wow.
And I mean, we got on every single roller coaster within minutes.
You're like, best day ever.
Everyone was still like COVID freaking.
Well, no, I think it was just we picked the absolute perfect time to go because all the kids went back to school. The summer's over, and it was kind of like a skeleton crew. There were just the people riding, doing the rides. Like all the food stuff was shut down. There wasn't like anything going on, and I'm not kidding you, within like 45 minutes, I think we did every freaking roller coaster in a place, and there was like 20 of them, Awesome. And I had to literally stop. I'm like, I can't get on another roller. My head is gonna fall off, like. Nice. And some of those coasters, man, now they're going on what, 25, 30 years old, like the Goliath thing.
Yeah, like when I drive past Great America all the time, and there's no way I'd go on the Eagle right now.
Yeah,
I was on there 10 years ago, and that was scary enough.
Yeah, you would need like a bubble suit to get on that sucker. I mean, and my son's like,
scary. It's like, it's gonna scare me. No, it's like rickety.
Yeah, no, it's gonna snap your vertebrae in half. You know what I mean? Like, and no, but I mean, I seriously walked away from there with like aches and pains. I'm like, oh my god, I'm old, whatever. But in that Goliath coaster in California, which at the time was like, like the Sears Tower of roller coasters, right? Yeah. And I mean, this thing threw me around like a rag doll. I mean, like
when I see the roller coasters,
these things in between the headrests, like a basketball,
with the feet hanging. No fucking way.
Oh yeah. That's where you feel all of your blood rush to your ankles. You know what I mean? Like. You feel like you're just top heavy at that point?
Oh, that's when I'm peeing on everyone as I'm going around the corner. It's just like spraying, like a sprinkler.
Yeah. No. It was pretty cool, but we did the whole park in like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, I need to go home now. That's it. We're done. Right. Yeah. So that's the time to go if you're going to go to Magic Mountain.
Right on. Well, Jason, thank you very much for sharing your stories. Please come back again another time. I know we've just cracked the seal.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. I've got stories that you guys have yet to hear that are insane. One of these days, maybe if I get my crap together enough, I might actually write a book.
Yeah.
Maybe for 3 or 4 people that might want to read it. The thing about it is that in the end, it's still not as exciting as Motley Crue's story, right?
Well, it's funny. My son comes in. He's like, "Dad, we just watched The Dirt. Was it like that?" I was like, "Oh no, it was much more fun."
Yeah.
Yeah. That block of years there, it was crazier than that.
Yeah.
You can't show that
But,
shit.
but nobody can really top that. You know, the amount of ridiculous chick action with those guys must have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. And tell everybody to take a look at my YouTube page. It's Jason Bassist or something like that.
Yeah, it's Jason Ward Bassist on YouTube.
Yep.
So everyone go check that out, subscribe, and like all his videos, of course.
Yep. And I'll probably be doing a couple more videos pretty soon. And if you guys share this with me, maybe I can get it on my YouTube page as well.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Right on, right on.
Thanks, Jason. Take care, buddy.
Maybe we can do track by track of a Flotsam and Jetsam album that you recorded, and we can break down the whole album.
Absolutely, man. I'd be happy to do that with you guys.
Nice.
Right
awesome.
On. All right, Jason, have a great one, brother. Thank you for doing that.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right.
That was awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Jason Ward. That was great.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Absolutely. So, all right. We'll see you guys next week as we come back for another edition of CreatiVity Talkin. Love you guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Up and go buy some Flotsam and Jetsam.